What do all Path of Exile players have in common? Well, our monkey brains all engage when we hear this sound, we have no friends who are willing to play a support character for us, and we're the only gamers out there who can get physically aroused by a spreadsheet of a build. Well, today, we're going to fix that second problem with the help of the new Luminary ascendancy. Who needs friends to support us with auras when we have an arguably more intelligent robot that can do it instead? Our plan is to start off nice and simple with bow skills, using them to farm up enough money in the new Curse of the Allflame League to swap to the main skill of the video, Spark, and we'll see how many more friends we can pick up along the way. So, without further ado, let's get into the campaign. We start off with the Spectral Throw gem, and use it to take down Hillock. Spectral Throw, however, isn't a great leveling gem, so we use our Wisdom Scrolls to buy a Galvanic Arrow gem as well as a bow to use it with. We begin clearing through Act 1 until we bump into Valerie, the new master of this league. For now though, we're just going to have a little look at the bow and then move on. We continue using Galvanic Arrow until we're able to use Rain of Arrows at level 12. Rain of Arrows is a significant... We're off to a good start. Rain of Arrows is a significant damage and speed upgrade, and it's going to be the main skill that we level with during the campaign. In Act 2, we find a Gemcutter's Prism, meaning we can do a pretty cool trick for early bow leveling. First, we'll use the Gemcutter's Prism on a fresh Rain of Arrows gem, giving it 1% quality. Then we'll sell any amulet, along with a skill gem of each colour to get an Onyx amulet. We can then make that Onyx amulet rare with an Essence or Alchemy orb, and then vendor the rare Onyx amulet, the 1% quality Rain of Arrows gem, a Sharktooth quiver, and an Orb of Chance all together for a Hiri's Bite quiver. We've also equipped the Anger and Herald of Ice auras, just temporarily for a bit of extra damage. In Act 3, we grab the Bong for its hidden boost to the quantity of items found, and then do our 6th trial of Ascendancy, unlocking the ability to complete the normal Labyrinth. The normal Labyrinth is no real issue for us. Rain of Arrows is a great damage skill early on, so Azaro falls without much trouble. We're rewarded with the Detonate Dead of Scavenging, worth around 10 chaos. Not bad for so early in the league. We're also now able to ascend. As mentioned earlier, I'm going to be choosing the new Luminary ascendancy. This bases itself around the idea of permanently hiring mercenaries to assist us. With the mercenary at our side, we have the choice to either play as a support and have them carry us, or vice versa. Now, I don't believe in playing as a support myself and letting the merc be the carry. Like, what? He becomes the main character and I just watch him do all of the cool stuff? What's next? I put a cuck chair MTX in my hideout and sit in it while the robot bangs my wife? No. We do the killing ourselves here. Well, except for in the campaign, where the merc's gonna also be killing stuff. Luckily for us, we're guaranteed a mercenary in the Scepter of God, so I can go and check for them, and if it's one that I don't like, I can go out, control-click the entrance, open a new instance of the zone, and try again. And after a few resets, I settle for this Kineticist. Kinetic Bolt isn't great, but it will do for now. I take it back, it won't do for now because only 5 minutes later I find this mercenary using Lightning Arrow and giving the Wrath aura. This is actually an amazing merc for the early game. After reaching Act 6, we invest into a couple of mana forged arrow setups, which will fire off various bow skills when I spend enough mana on my Rain of Arrows. I also grab a Mark on Hit Sniper's Mark setup to make bosses and rares easier. We continue working through the campaign and grabbing upgrades to my gear, as well as upgrading my mercenary's gear. Luckily, with my mercenary also being a bow character, it makes gearing them extremely easy. I identify items for myself, and if they're decent but not quite upgrades, they go on my merc. Simple. A little further into the campaign now, we find ourselves back in the Labyrinth for round 2, and upon defeating Azaro for the second time, we gain access to the second ascendancy which will be putting into Loyal Bodyguard. This makes our mercenary take 20% of the damage that we would take if their life is higher than ours, or it makes our mercenary recoup 40% of the damage taken if their life is less than ours, so either it makes us tankier or the merc tankier. Pretty nice. I've added in a Purity of Elements aura to the build. This is going to help fix our resistances while also making us immune to Ignite, Shock, Chill, and Freeze. But it's also doing the exact same for our mercenary, making them far less likely of randomly being killed while clearing. This does not make me a support cuck for the robot, okay? This is one aura. With that cleared up, we can head to the lab for the third and final time during the campaign, where we take down Azaro once more and unlock the Bestowed Knighthood ascendancy. This will cause my mercenary to taunt, meaning enemies will target them instead of me, which is nice. But more importantly, it gives them 50% increased effect of auras. This is going to be huge later on when I start using my merc as a full-time support bot. With the third lab down, we can enter the final battle against Katava, take him down, and move on to maps. With the campaign done, we want to grab some upgrades, so let's spend some gold on gambling quivers and some bows to get a couple of nice easy upgrades. Then let's use the 22 chaos we got from the campaign to buy ourselves a 2-socket light poacher, which I got for a mega low price, and a Shroud of the Lightless with 2 sockets. I can then fill those 4 abyss sockets with 4 searching eye jewels, all with a mix of tier 2 to 4 damage rolls that I bought for about 4 chaos each. So what's with all the abyss stuff? Well, abyss got a huge update this league, and so a lot of people are playing it, making these items way cheaper than normal. Light poacher allows us to gain spirit charges on kill, and our max spirit charges is increased by the amount of abyss jewels affecting us. It then gives us 5% of our fizz damage as extra damage of each element per spirit charge. So a big fizz bow will be an insane damage upgrade for us. Then there's Shroud of the Lightless, which gives us 3% max life and mana and 4% Eliped per abyss jewel affecting us. Together, these 2 items make abyss jewel stacking an incredibly powerful combo for a very easy source of damage. You may have noticed I'm also now firing up green projectiles everywhere. That's the Spirit Burst ability that fires whenever I use a skill while having a spirit charge. This ability is also part of the Light Poacher helmet. The only downside to this is that the Shroud of the Lightless can only hold a 4-link skill gem setup, since the Abyss Jewels take up 2 of the gem slots. So I now have to try and get a 6-link bow that also has a ton of fizz damage, rather than just any link bow with fizz damage. Luckily, the damage from this setup will more than make up for that, as you can probably tell considering I've swapped to a 4-link lightning arrow setup and I am tearing through enemies with no issue. So with that said, let's spend some money on a 550-ish fizz damage bow, and then try to 5-link it, which sadly doesn't work out. We continue mapping, grabbing jewel slots in our passive tree as we level, and filling them with more abyss jewels. While we do so, we also put all of the Atlas passive points that we get into rushing mercenaries with the hopes that we can find a sniper merc which gives haste and grace early on. Plus, from what I remember of Mercenary League, mercs offer divine orbs and high rolled rare items fairly often, so hopefully this will be a pretty profitable strat. I've sold off a few drops that I've got on while mapping, and I want to make a major upgrade. So I'm going to buy 3 Hunter's Reward cards, which when traded in, will award me with the Taming Ring. The ring is currently 60 chaos for the lowest roll, and I got the cards for 60 chaos, so hopefully I can do a bit better than the minimum roll. Wow, that actually is pretty much the minimum roll. No worries, we can just sell that ring off for a 2 chaos loss and try again. Okay, that's a bit better. Still not great, but it's way better than before. The reason the taming is so good is because it gives us 30 to 40% increased elemental damage with hits and ailments for each type of elemental ailment on the enemy. Thanks to my helmet, I'm doing damage of all 3 element types, and so I can inflict Ignite, Shock, and Chill on enemies. With the 35% roll that I just got, that's 105% increased damage. If I got 2 maxed rolled versions of this ring, I'd be getting 240% increased damage from them, and that's before even putting catalysts on them to buff that further. And in a weird coincidence, in the same map where I'm explaining the taming ring, I get the most expensive component in making one, a Beric's Respite. That means I can make another. We'll buy a Beric's Grip and a Beric's Pass, and vendor all 3 of those rings to make another taming. Another bad roll. Let's just use it and we can fix it later if we need to. All this bow stuff's just temporary anyway, remember? This is all just to farm money to swap to Spark. I've been doing a little bit of the new league mechanic to farm up enough materials to use the new Allflame crafting. This essentially lets me put an item in, as well as a currency type, and instead of just hitting them together like you'd normally do, it will give you multiple outcomes to choose from. I'm going to do it on my bow and hope for some hybrid fizz or high elemental damage. +1 bow gem sucks. I guess it's got to be between the other 2, and the flat cold is way higher, so let's go with that. That's a pretty cool crafting method, to be honest. I like it. Oh, and there's the 5-link on the bow. I'll add a greater multiple projectiles support in for more clear speed. I've been hunting for a while now to get a sniper mercenary with haste and grace, but I've just realized that you can buy one for literally 5 chaos. I'm an idiot. I still have to kill the merc though, which I didn't know. I'm going to do it in a tier 1 white map just to pray that it makes it easier. Ah, there we go, no problem. Now we have the haste and grace auras, which frees up space for some more changes. I'll be swapping to a new aura setup, which uses Purity of Elements like before, Precision for accuracy and crit, and Herald of Purity for more fizz damage. This leaves me with space to squeeze in one more 25% reservation aura, so I'm going to be using Herald of Ash for the extra damage and explosions. We can then upgrade our quiver to a Spine Hell. We're buying one with +2 arrows since +3 is quite expensive right now. We're also making sure that it has increases to minion damage also affect me, so that the increased minion damage on it can actually be useful. This quiver gives us +2 arrows to our attacks by sacrificing a damageable minion. Previously, we didn't have an option for this, but now, we're using Herald of Purity, which spawns damageable minions when we kill an enemy or hit rare and unique enemies. This is effectively +2 arrows permanently, which means we can make one last change for now, by changing our lightning arrow setup to a tornado shot setup. This is, in my opinion, the best bow skill in the game, and it's just far more enjoyable to play with. It also just blasts single target when you have enough additional projectiles. And now we're just tearing through maps. We feel way tankier and faster thanks to our Mercenary giving us the Graced and Haste auras, and Tornado Shot is just clearing super easy with the Abyssal stacking damage. The only real upgrade I can think of right now would be our flasks, so let's quickly sort those out for a cheap, easy power boost. We continue our work through the Atlas, taking out the Infinite Hunger and the Black Star, and then look back at our Light Poacher since we've never put any gems in to support the Spirit Burst skill. I was going to put in an Archmage and Life Tap support, since this prevents the Spirit Burst from being able to fire, meaning that I would always have max Spirit Charges for max Fizz as extra damage, but I kinda just decided that it's such an all-flamey skill. It would be a really big damage upgrade to add those supports in, but I'm just going to add a Frost Mage support with greater volley instead. This just gives the projectiles a bit of extra damage and makes them all fire together in a line, and makes it a bit more all-flamey and cool looking. What's the point of more damage if you're not dealing it in style? After supporting our Light Poacher a bit more, we finish off the final map of the Atlas, as well as taking down the Eater of Worlds and the Syrian Exarch to unlock our first Void Stone, and then also take down the Incarnation of Dread for our second Void Stone. And with that done, it's almost time to start doing a proper map strategy, but there's one thing we've forgotten: the Uber Labyrinth. My theory is that there's some kind of weird curse that half the PoE community is afflicted by, where we don't remember that the Uber Labyrinth exists until we hit level 90. We take down Azaro for the fourth and final time, and unlock the ability for our Mercenaries to wear unique amulets and helmets. We can then equip our Mercenary with a Leercast to buff our damage, and a Purple's Toe to make our damage lucky, meaning that it's going to roll twice and pick the better outcome. Later on, we can anoint this amulet with some aura effect. After that, we'll roll an Evasion Body Armor with Eldritch Currency to have some generic aura effect and either Grace or Haste aura effect. For some reason, we count as a pinnacle boss, so if we equip our Merc with a body armor like this, they actually get the 35% Grace effect, and so therefore, we do too, as they're buffing us with it. I should also mention that level 83 Mercs have level 26 auras as a baseline. Yeah. With that done, I wanted to finally start making some currency. I started off by heading down into the depths of the new League mechanic, clearing out charts as fast as I could, and I found a message in a bottle which has insanely high potential for valuable loot. It also has some insanely low potential. I then got another one, and another one, and then when planning a voyage, I realised that I had this chart which gives all adjacent areas 2 messages in a bottle. So I can put this chart in the middle of my voyage and get 8 messages in a bottle from this. I ended up getting 9 messages in a bottle, worth around 400 chaos, 230 chaos worth of Allflames, 40 chaos worth of Sulfur, and some stacked decks. Honestly, that's really good for just one voyage. I didn't think I'd like this new mechanic, but it's actually kind of fun and not too complicated. Also, you know I'm going to be opening these bottles instead of selling them. That is a whole lot of belts and yet a whole lot of nothing. GGG, fix your game. GGG, you fixed your game. I'm going to be doing one last upgrade before doing a real map strat. I've got all my Abyss Jewels here, and I'm going to Allflame craft them with a Merrick's Ducat. This will add a 5th modifier to each jewel as well as corrupting them. It costs around 5C per jewel, but it could turn a 4 damage jewel into a 5 damage jewel, so it's absolutely worth it. That was actually really good. I got some huge results from that. So, what map strat are we doing? I'll be farming essences on lower tier maps. And for Scarabs, I'll be using 2 Scarabs of Adversaries, 1 Essence Scarab of Stability, 1 Essence Scarab of Calcification, and 1 Essence Scarab of Ascent. Oh shit, I forgot to unlock my 5th fragment slot. Hold please. That's better. So, the strat's simple. Enter the map, Varlorb any essence mobs that have a purple essence inside of them or have a lot of essences, and kill them all. Loot, repeat, and do that as fast as you can. Most strats in PoE are better if you speed through them as fast as possible, but some are better than others, and this one is a great example. You just want to get the essences out of the map and move on to the next map to get as many essences per hour as you can. Having a build like mine, with a ton of move speed and the ability to just nuke down the essence mobs within a second or two, is perfect for this strat. The main reason I picked this strat is actually because of the fact that my Mercenary can support me with such an overpowered version of haste, so I can get tons of movement speed to tear through this strat quickly. Also, if you're enjoying this video, consider pressing the like button and subscribing to my channel. I do a lot of 0 to hero videos as well as weird challenge run kind of content that I think you'll really enjoy, and pressing those 2 buttons makes an enormous difference in helping me grow. Thanks guys. After a few good hours of farming essences, I can finally make the swap over to the build that we've really wanted to play, Connor Converse's Luminary Spark. Now, quick editor's note. The swap here goes well and I'm able to clear maps fine, but the build felt really squishy until I got a certain belt later on. If I were to do this again, I'd probably farm that belt up and then make the swap, just to make everything a bit more comfy. First up, we'll buy Jaquani's Potential Staff. This staff gives us more lightning spell damage based on the amount of intelligence that we have, and is the basis of the entire build. It also gives us blood magic, meaning that we need to spend life to use our spells, which isn't ideal. To fix that, we're going to buy a Whispers of Infinity amulet, which makes us spend energy shield instead of mana or life on our skills. We've grabbed one corrupted with percent in since we're going to be instacking. Next up, I'll buy an Apex mode and Nadir mode duel, as well as an overloaded intensity and a pinpoint support. Together, these 4 items make spells incredibly powerful by building up intensity stacks and maintaining them with the jewels and pinpoint, and spending those intensity stacks to get enormous crit bonuses from the overloaded intensity support. I'll then ult spam 12 passive elemental cluster jewels, trying to get a combo of high intelligence, attributes, energy shield, or increased effect, using the boat crafting to Exalt slam the final mod for a higher chance of success. After making 2 of these large clusters, I'll use the exact same strategy to make 4 medium projectile clusters with aerodynamics, streamlined, and some inner resistances. And I'll do the strat one last time on 3 passive small cluster jewels with energy shield to try and get high in, attributes, energy shield, and percent effect. And with 4 of those crafted up, that's all my cluster jewels done. Now I just need to get some high int rare gear. I'll start by buying an eye level 85 Lich's Circlet and spam it with deafening essences of spite until we have high energy shield and an open suffix. Next, I'll use a Hunter's Exalted Orb on it through the boat crafting to try and hit percent intelligence. T2 in. Not ideal, but it's better than not hitting it at all. Then I'll Divine Orb it with the boat to get the energy shield and percent in up a bit, and craft some resistances to finish it off. And that's a sexy early int stacking helmet. Next up's the body armor, which I'll be doing pretty much the same way as the helmet. I'll buy an eye level 86 Twilight Regalia, spam Spite Essences for high energy shield, and boatcraft a Hunter's Exalt to try and get the percent in. Wait, I'm so dumb. That was the wrong orb. I was meant to use a Crusader's orb for the body armor. Oh, shit. Okay, new body armor, nothing happened, don't know what you're talking about. I've never even heard of a Hunter's Exalted Orb. You people are just voices in my head that communicate with me through comments. We try again. Okay, 3rd time's the charm. It's a 50-50 chance per roll and I've had 6 individual rolls, please game. Okay, we've just bought this one for a divine, because that craft has cost me over 60 divines now over 2 days of casual play, and quite frankly, I want to throw my PC at this boat guy's fucking head. I just need to quickly 6-link it, and roll the implicits to something a bit more useful. I won't spend too much on Eldritch implicits on my gear right now, since I'll be upgrading a lot of this after some more farming. Next, I'll buy a pair of gloves with decent energy shield, high in, and some res, and then buy a pair of boots with the same. I can then use Eldritch currency to roll the gloves with damage per in and unnerve chance, and the boots with action speed and life regen rate. Let's buy a belt with high in, ES and res, and some rings with the same. Then all we need to do is respec our tree, put in our new Spark 6-link setup, our Frostblink of Wintry Blast setup, a Sniper's Mark, a cast when damage taken and Mortal Call setup, and haste linked to Eternal Blessing, which makes haste have no reservation cost but makes it the only aura that we can activate. And now we're finally playing the Spark build that we set out to play. It's still super clunky right now with the low investment that we have, but we're going to get it to some insane numbers. We're also now using the Fallen Reverend Mercenary. Previously, we were using a sniper with the haste and grace auras, stacking as much buff effect as we could. We're doing the exact same strat now with the buff effect, but we're just using Wrath and Zealotry instead. I really want to do some boss in this league, so we're starting out with the Nameless King, as one run costs 80 chaos, and he has a 20% chance to drop the Light of Meaning jewel, which sells for over 600 chaos un-ID'd. Plus, he can drop some random ritual corpses that can be worth a ton. This build suits bossing nicely since it's not very fast mapper in its current state and it's not particularly tanky, but it can nuke bosses down before they can even do any real mechanics. The perfect type of boss killer. Another boss I'll be killing is the Breach boss. This invitation's 27 chaos and there's a 3% chance to drop the Sundered Will, worth 12 divines. You can also get Ornatol's Vow and random Breach uniques which can make huge additions to the profit. Plus, there's the chests on the way to the boss that can drop random Foulborn items worth 60 chaos if you're lucky, or 22 divines if you're really lucky. And in our first set of 30 kills we do get really lucky, finding not only that 22 divine jewel but also a 4 div claw and getting back-to-back ring drops worth 12 divines each. A nice little bonus of farming the Breach boss is that you get 1900 Hiveblood per kill on average, so I can get some extra value out of the tree after a nice long session. I'm just rolling Lavish Wombgifts to try and get some Foulborn Exalts since they're over 800 chaos right now each. And with all this profit, I can make some more upgrades. I want to start upgrading my Merc's gear, so I'll start with a Mask of the Tribunal with max rolled attributes, cast speed and crit multi. This helmet gives us the ability to just stack a ton of dexterity and intelligence on our Merc, which will reward us with a mountain of crit multi and cast speed in return. This, combined with the aura effect, is pretty much the entire basis of our Mercenary. Gearing a Merc like this is also surprisingly cheap since we don't care about making good items, just ones that work. For example, I want a Cogwork ring right now which is a 2 divine base, but I can get this one for a third of the price since I don't care about it having a fractured prefix or intangibility. I'll use Deafening Essences of Sorrow to roll it until it has T1 dex and int with an open suffix. Then I'll craft all attributes, and then do that one more time to make a second ring. Let's not forget to catalyst these bad boys up, and then we can just roll some gloves and boots with essences as well for int and dexterity. And for a belt, we're going to buy a heavy belt and roll it with essences for high dexterity and strength with an open suffix. Then I'll block the open suffix and fill up the prefixes. Then I can remove the crafted mod that I used to block and slam it with a hunter orb on the boat to try and hit percent attributes. And once again catalyst it up to boost all those numbers. My footage for the final step of the belt got Varlord, but I used a Gentile's Ducat with the boat crafting to change that strength into int. And lastly for now, I'm going to buy an Unnatural Instinct and Might of the Meek duel for myself. I'll slot the Unnatural Instinct in here, and the Might of the Meek in here. The Unnatural Instinct will allocate all small passives in its area, giving us a range of valuable stats, such as skill effect duration and resistances. The Might of the Meek will increase the effectiveness of all small passives in its area by 50%, meaning everything in this overlap between the two is buffed by 50%, and all the nodes at the top that I've allocated will also benefit. And with those upgrades done, we're back to bossing. The next boss I want to farm is Katarina, since she has really good profit margins with a fairly low chance of getting unlucky and losing money if you have enough starting capital. Like in this one kill, the cost to fight her was 3.3 divines, but I got a Veiled Exalt worth 6.5 divines, and a 3 mod Cane of Kulak worth 45c, and the new boss fragment, but that's only worth 7c. And honestly, this is just kind of an average loot kill. You do get occasional kills though that give you 0 loot and you lose 600 chaos on the investment, but that's made up for kills like this where I got 6.5 divines from the Veiled Exalt, 4.5 divines from the Allflame, and 7 divines from the Unveiled Energy Shield Cinder Swallow. Insane loot. And after about an hour of Katarina, we're back at the Nameless King. You see, bossing can be a very volatile strategy to do. The prices of invitations and the boss drops are constantly changing, which makes a huge impact on whether a boss is going to be worth doing or not. You also have to consider the risk. It's very easy to go on a dry streak when bossing, and with a boss like Katarina when you're spending over 600 chaos on each boss invitation, a dry streak like that can completely bankrupt you. So, you need to be checking the prices of everything constantly. Katarina was worth it a few hours ago, but now the invitation's gone up 100 chaos and all the valuable loot's gone down quite a bit, meaning it's not really worth it anymore and it's a lot more dangerous if I go on a dry streak. And so instead of continuing with her, we'll head back to the cheaper and safer Nameless King. We kill him around 50 to 60 times an hour and get a ton of Light of Meaning jewels along the way, as well as corrupting every untouched soul that drops for the potential of some high value implicits. And after each set of 50 maps, our merchant tab looks something like this. Have you ever seen a more beautiful sight in Path of Exile? So, after a day of bossing, and some more lucky drops like this 50 divine perfect forest tiger, we're finally able to afford our next upgrade, a Mage Blood. With the Mage Blood, I'll be using a Quicksilver and Silver Flask for the move speed and cast speed, as well as a Diamond Flask for crit chance and a Topaz Flask for the max lightning res. I'll be comboing this Topaz Flask with the Purity of Lightning aura, putting us at 89% max lightning res. We can combo this with a Melding of the Flesh Jewel. This will reduce all of my resistances by 70% and lower my maximum res by 4%, but my maximum fire res and maximum cold res will be brought up to meet my maximum lightning res. I said the word res there quite a lot, which probably got confusing, but it basically means that I'm going to have 85% all res, a huge defensive boost that I can increase to 90% with more gear. There's also another upgrade I've been meaning to make for a while. I'm going to be adding 3 more guys to my little friend group here, by adding in both the Animate Guardian and Raise Spectre skill gems to my setup, linked with Meat Shield and Minion Life to make them more tanky. I'll equip my Animated Guardian with a Kingmaker, Learcast, Garb of the Ephemeral, and a pair of rare gloves and boots. The Kingmaker is going to provide a ton of damage and defensive buffs to the whole squad. The Leercast will give me a 50% increased damage boost, and the Garb of the Ephemeral means that nearby enemies can't crit, and my action speed can't be reduced below the base value, which helps a ton with dealing with some of the random obscure mechanics in this game that slow you down. The rare gloves and boots are just going to give some life regen and resistances to the animated Guardian itself. As for the Spectres, I'll be using a perfect Warlord for Vitality and Endurance charges, and a perfect Judgmental Spirit for Discipline. The Vitality does actually benefit me since I have Zealot's Oath, turning all of my life regen into energy shield regen. I also have 3% of life regen per second crafted on my Topaz Flask, as this also works with Zealot's Oath. And now we're absolutely pumping. Since with Spark, we do a lot better in tight areas so that our projectiles can overlap and spam enemies, but even in open areas we're doing pretty well. The only real problem I'm facing with this build is that it's quite squishy. One of the main reasons being recovery, so to fix that, I'm dropping one of my small cluster jewels to free up some passive points, and I'll be picking up this Energy Shield Leech Will, with the mastery that gives 5% of my leech is instant. My Spark hits hard, and it's hitting countless times per second, so this should make me pretty much immune to any slow deaths. Also, this leak's in a bit of a weird spot. I'm at the point where I can farm endgame content, but it really doesn't feel like there's any stuff to farm. I could juice up Abysses for around 20 divines per hour, but I could also just do a bunch of other methods that are way easier. Low investment chill strats just seems to be making the same amount of money as juice strats right now. I'm gonna go back to an old classic of mine. Hiveblood farming in Hive Fortresses. I did this strat a lot back when I ran my 1 million Hiveblood versus Tree series, but now I'm gonna be doing it with a twist. Strat.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna be running Mercenaries on top of it, with the hope of the Mercs offering me some huge uniques or at least some divines. The strat's simple. Enter the map, kill the Merc, kill the map boss to try and get one of the new Kadiro map anomalies, and then go and clear the fortress. Since my sparks naturally just zip around everywhere and do so much damage, I can quite literally just hold down right click and AFK for the entire Hive Fortress duration, making this a really comfortable strat. The Scarabs? I'm going to be using a Breach Scarab of the Hive and Marshal to guarantee a Hive Fortress in every map, as well as a Trathan Scarab of Infamy, and a Trathan Scarab of Renown to give me a guaranteed Mercenary, fully decked out in uniques and accompanied by 2 buddies for extra loot. One annoying thing that I found is that the wild mercenaries that accompany the main mercenary instantly seem to join your side once you've killed the main one, meaning that they won't drop any loot unless you kill them first. I thought about maybe swapping out this Scarab because it's not really consistent, but then I wouldn't be guaranteeing that all the mercs are infamous, which I still want because I'm trying to find valuable mercs to sell. So yeah, an annoying interaction that GGG might have overlooked. As for all the Hiveblood I'm farming, I considered spending it on rolling Foulborn currency since Foulborn Exalts are 900 chaos each now, but honestly, rolling jewels just tickles something in me, so I'm going to go for the jackpot on those. We started printing some nice items, such as a Foulborn Red Nightmare, a Foulborn Fire Song, a Foulborn Ramirez Banquet, and a Foulborn Badge of the Brotherhood, which is 70 divines? This is because of all the Winter Robbers. What the hell are you guys thinking? 70 divines for like 30% move speed when you do 95% of your traveling by just spamming Frostblink. I don't know, man. I'm just taking my 70 divines and I'm not asking any questions. They're about to restart the servers for a new minor patch, and in that patch they're actually fixing the issues with the wild mercenaries that I mentioned earlier. That's a huge relief. The wild mercs have been dropping quite a lot of nice loot, a few divines here and there, so it's been really sad that I've not been able to kill them consistently, so good job GGG. It's the next day after the patch, and mercs feel so much nicer to run. I start the day by dropping a Foulborn Death's Oath, and then something unexpected happens. Oh, what the hell? I was just vendoring all the crap from the floor. I didn't even notice I'd picked this up. Holy. You can't see my overlay right now, but that's 350 divines right there. I think people want this mod specifically because of the Abyss propagation farm, where you really don't want to miss a single rare, so yeah, okay, we take those. Well, it's just sold for 295 divines. Sadly, there were 2 absolute penises who decided to undercut each other by like 20 divines each time, so the price just kept dropping and dropping. 295 divines though, that's huge. That should be enough to finish off the build. We'll start by buying up the last 2 items that I'm missing, those being an Energy Shield Light of Meaning, which I'll slot into here for a huge boost to my Energy Shield, and a Bound by Destiny with 15% increased int when I have 2 Crusader items equipped, which will place where that small cluster jewel that I removed used to be. Slight issue though. I don't have any Crusader items equipped, so let's fix that by upgrading my helmet and body armor. We'll start with the helmet. Let's buy an eye level 85 Lich's Circlet with the Hunter Influence, and then roll it until it has T1% int, 1 other Hunter mod, and no other suffixes. Now we'll use an Orb of Dominance on it, which will remove one influence mod to raise the level of another above T1. We're hoping to raise the percent in, and we're doing it on the boat for a better chance of success. Perfect, 12% in. Now we're going to craft suffixes can't be changed and scour the helmet. This will make the helmet magic while keeping our percent in. The reason we did this is because with Bestiary we can apply a Hinokora's lock to our helmet, which pretty much lets us see the future with our crafts. Hinokora's locks themselves are worth about 60 divines, so they're really not worth it, but as long as our item is magic, we can do it here for around 1.5 divines. Now, let's buy an eye level 85 Crusader's Lich's Circlet and roll it to have 2% max lightning res. And here's why we went through that process to get the Hinokora's lock. Awakener's Orbs are used to delete one item with an influence mod and combine it with another item with an influence mod, creating an item with that base with both mods on it. The problem is that it just randomly adds other modifiers, and we want to make sure that we get high intelligence. So with the Hinokora's lock applied, I can right click on the Awakener's Orb, right click the Max Res helmet, and hover over my int helmet to see the result. This rolls pretty bad, since it has no intelligence and no energy shield mods, so I can just use up the Hinokora's lock by using a Jeweler's Orb on it, apply another lock with beasts, and check again. And this is a result I'm actually happy with, so let's take that. And if you're wondering why I didn't just get a bunch of Crusader helmets with max lightning res and check them all, that used to be a thing but they fixed it. You get the same result every time now, so you do need to refresh the lock just to get a new result. Now I'll use a Wild Bristle Matron to craft on suffixes cannot be changed, since the only open affix is a prefix, and that's the only meta prefix that you can get. Then let's Harvest Reforger Lightning mod, which will guarantee either Fizz taken as lightning or lightning damage to spells, since they're the only lightning prefixes that this helmet can roll. Lightning to spells, not the one I was hoping for, but it's still pretty good. Let's block mana, and slam, hoping for energy shield. Rarity. I think I'm going to remove the crafted mod and Beastcraft suffixes cannot be changed again and have another go at this. Okay, T2 Fizz taken as lightning, not ideal but better than lightning to spells. We'll block mana, and slam for energy shield. And now that we've hit some energy shield, let's use the boat to Divine Orb the helmet to try and get that Fizz taken and flat in a bit higher. Okay, well this one's got 12% in and 6% Fizz damage taken as lightning, but it's got really low flat in. What have we got over here? Okay, this one's got 12% in and 55 flat in, but it's only got 5% Fizz. That's probably still worth it though. We'll keep crafting percent energy shield until it rolls perfect. Quality it up, and then that's one hell of an instacker helmet. I could have really tried to elevate the maximum lightning res, but the orbs for it cost around 1000 chaos each, and I know money isn't really an issue right now, but neither are my elemental defenses. Plus it's a helmet for me, not a profit craft, it doesn't need to be perfect. Now for the body armor. I'm going to be doing the exact same strat that I got screwed over with earlier in the video, so I'm going to roll within essences for high energy shield and 2 open suffixes. Then I can slam a Crusader Orb and try to get T1% intelligence. Okay, funny boatman, we're still doing this with the body armors, are we? No more games, boatman. You think you're real fucking funny with your T2 intelligence, don't you? Prick. Oh my god, it finally happened, thank Christ, I've spent like 60 divines on this shit. We'll craft percent attributes, and slam for more energy shield, which we actually hit. We'll divine it to max out the percent intelligence, tailoring orbit for percent increase to defense mods, spam some chromatic orbs for blue sockets, and that's the body armor finally done, thank god for that. That genuinely took like 2 hours and 70 to 80 divines total because it just refused to hit. Now it's time for a big one, the rings. We'll buy an eye level 82 helical ring base and roll it with deafening essences of zeal until we get T1 intelligence and only 4 affixes. Then we'll bring it to the boatman to try and fracture the cast speed with the intelligence as a backup fracture. And we got intelligence. Let's take the one with lower instability in case we need to do more boat crafts later. Next we'll roll with essences of scorn until we get T1 cast speed and then craft +1 minimum frenzy charges as our final suffix. I'll use intrinsic catalyst to get the intelligence up a bit. And now we're going to make a reckless decision and try to reflecting mist it. This randomly increases the numbers on some mods while turning others negative and creating a copy of the item with the opposite of each roll. We're hoping that the intelligence, cast speed and crit multi all go in the same direction so that one of the copies will have a super juice version of all 3 of them. That's a shame. The int and cast speed did move together, but the crit multi went the other way. It is what it is. We can try this again or just maybe skip the mirroring step. Okay, we're back to this step and we're not going to bother with the reflecting mist. They nerfed how much it boosts the numbers by quite a lot this league, so I don't think it's worth the cost. I'll craft suffixes can't be changed and reforge defense mods to try and get some energy shield as a prefix. Then I'll divine it to try and top up the craft speed and crit multi. Oh my god, this one is literally perfection on every stat. And then craft on all attributes, and that's the ring done. I could have also crafted on crit chance crit multi if you've shattered recently, which I am doing thanks to my Stormblood Flask, and this works out to way more DPS, but it's reliant on freezing and shattering enemies, which only really happens when clearing maps and not against bosses. I'd prefer the consistent boss damage personally. And with that one ring done, I can buy a Calandra's Touch to act as an exact copy of it for only 8 divines. Now next up's the gloves, so I'll buy a pair of eye level 84 Warlock gloves with increased damage against chilled enemies. I can then use the Harvest Bench to change that mod from the fire version to the cold version and back again to re-roll the value of it until it's a high roll. Now we'll go to Boat Boy to try and fracture that damage mod. And he actually didn't scam me, holy shit. Now it's time for a bit of a weird craft. I'm going to be using a hollow fossil and a fundamental fossil to try and fossil craft these gloves to have an abyssal socket and high intelligence. The abyssal socket is guaranteed, and it shouldn't be too rare to hit a high in or dex mod. And I hit high dex. The reason this is also useful is because I can use a Gentile's Ducat like I did on the belt to try and re-roll the dex to intelligence. And we did indeed hit intelligence, perfect. Oh, and it upgraded from tier 2 to T1, I didn't even know that was possible. So we have perfect suffixes, that's amazing. Now we'll use a Grand Ember on the gloves and a Lesser Ichor, so that the Searing Exarch is considered dominant. This will allow me to use Eldritch Chaos Orbs to re-roll the prefixes until we hit high energy shield. T2, T3 energy shield, I think that'll do me, so let's craft on projectile speed and damage, and that's the affixes done. Now for the implicits, I'll use Grand Ichors to roll damage per intelligence, which I want to elevate. To do that, I need to use an Orb of Conflict, which will lower the tier of one Eldritch implicit and raise the tier of another. It prefers to drop down the higher tier mod, so I'll use an exceptional Ember on the gloves and then use the Orb of Conflict. And the damage per int mod has gone up a tier. One more to go. And it's gone back down a tier. Here we go. Okay, we've got there. It took about 20 divines worth of Orbs of Conflict, but we have managed. 4% damage per 100 intelligence. That was absolutely not worth the effort, but it does look cool. Now I can use Greater Embers to roll Unnerve on hit. Luckily, I don't need a high tier of this since it only raises the percent chance to unnerve, and I hit so many times that it makes no difference. And for the Abyssal Socket, I'll buy this jewel with Int, ES, and a bunch of resistance, which we're going to need after our next upgrade. Which is going to be our boots. We're going to be doing a similar crafting method to our helmet. I'll roll a pair of Elder I-86 Warlock boots for more duration support and no other suffixes. Then we'll roll a pair of Hunter boots for Tailwind with another Hunter mod. Then we can elevate the Tailwind mod with the boat. We won't bother trying to elevate the duration mod of these boots since we only care about the percent increased skill duration, and that doesn't go up if you elevate it. Only the more duration support gem does. Now we can beast lock the duration boots like before, and repeat what we did earlier for the helmet until we get a result that we like. We are 54 attempts in now, and this is the first time that we've seen intelligence. That's around 60 divines worth of rolls, by the way. I don't know if the Awakener's Orb naturally tries to roll more influence mods, but that's really what it seems like, so the intelligence is looking like it's quite rare. Well, we're on attempt number 58 and we're going to settle for this. T1 res with +2 pierce is good enough. I spent so much money on this, and at some point you just have to accept settling for something. So let's finish off my gear by buying a max rolled Jaquani's Potential, Tempering Orbing it for higher lightning mods, 6-linking it, and Chromatic Orbing it for some blue sockets. Now that I've got a second 6-link, I can put my Spectre Animate Guardian setup in there, and add in both an Empower and Elemental Army support gem to make my Spectres and my Animate Guardian significantly more durable. And for the final upgrades of the video, I've blinged out my Merc with an upgraded Toe, a Mask of the Tribunal with 15% aura effect, as well as using Orbs of Conflict to get the implicits on his body armor much higher. And with that, the build is complete. The final POB DPS works out to around 320 million, so we're absolutely pumping damage-wise. The defenses are super strong against elemental damage thanks to my resistances all being at 89%, but my physical max hit is really weak, so I'm super prone to dying to fizz damage. Luckily, pretty much everything dies before it ever really gets a chance to lay its hands on me, and anything that doesn't die immediately is going to be frozen thanks to my Stormblood Flask. So, let's test this build out against some real content. I started off with the Shaper to try and test out my elemental tankiness, and well, I've got beams hitting me, balls smacking me, damage over time puddles under me, all at the same time, and it's just not threatening at all. The Shaper fight pretty much just involved me holding down right click and looking away. Maybe Uber Elder's more of a challenge? Okay, yeah, didn't think so. More AFK bossing. Wait. Hey, okay, so I can still die to elemental damage if I full AFK and Maven witnessed Uber Elder. On reviewing the footage, it turns out both of my Spectres were dead from tank testing previously, so maybe that would have made a difference. Who knows? But what about Maven witnessed Uber Elder? How do I do against those guys? Okay, well my damage is enough to insta-phase them, so that's a good sign. And I'm still able to tank the beam. And the Shaper Slam too, insane. It's another Uber down with minimal effort. Maybe a Maven witnessed Uber Dread could be a challenge with all this hectic mechanics. Jesus Christ, look at how fast the other two Incarnation bosses died. You barely even knew they existed in this fight. And again, holy! Okay, well, a Maven witnessed Uber Incarnation of Dread is nothing versus the boys. Let's face off against the ultimate test, the Feared. I spent a few hundred Chaos Orbs rolling this to get at least 90% plus quality, as well as some mods that will toughen the fight up. In this fight, we'll be facing off against the Elder, Shaper, Incarnation of Dread, Cirrus, and the Cortex, except now they have huge buffs to their attack and cast speed, life, AoE, and I'm way less tanky due to the -9% max all res and less recovery rate of energy shield. So, let's see how this goes. Okay, we've got the first two down here. We'll see if we can kill off the Incarnation of Dread quickly. Something's healing him very fast. Okay. Oh my god. Oh, he's gonna die. Where's the Elder? Oh, Elder's dead. Okay, Cirrus is up next. I believe with the Synthesis. Yep, Synthesis is next. Okay, they're dead. Oh, it's over. Did anyone even see the Shaper? I mean, I guess that means the build did good. Me and two friends did a rower race inside one of their hideouts to celebrate the completion of this character. 20 divine buy-in, winner takes it all, and we're playing the green rower. Let's play this race while we wrap things up. So yeah, that's the instacking Spark with your friends build. Considering this was just a build concept by Connor Converse and not actually something that had ever been played in game, it turned out pretty good. I think looking back, I wouldn't league start this and would probably only swap over to it after getting a Mage Blood. The low Fizz max here isn't really a problem in the endgame, but early on it's a little brutal. The damage absolutely carried though, and it made for an incredible boss killer. It gave me a few ideas about some challenge runs I could try out. Thanks for watching everyone, and a big shout out to Connor Converse for theorycrafting this build. Take care. Remember to like and subscribe for more Zero to Hero and challenge run content, and I'll see you in the next one.